I also think we need to encourage people to vote, and anything we can do to get more people out. To me, it is really disappointing when we see the small numbers in primaries. And part of that was the ridiculous early primary that was pushed really because for President Obama, that was the reason it was moved up a couple of years ago, and it just wasn't addressed. You know, they moved it up a couple of years ago so that Illinois would be more relevant in the presidential scheme of things, and never moved it back to a reasonable date, you know, this last election cycle. So now we have moved it back to March. I think it would have been much better if we would have moved it to May or June, like many people were talking about, so that we would have that opportunity to get people more involved in voting in primaries. But I would support other ways to get people voting, get our numbers up in primaries. I think that's one way of doing that, and I have supported open primaries in the past to allow people to vote. I also think the other thing that is really discouraging to people, and these things are, some of these are good things that were done, but there's so much more that could have been done. There was a lot of work that the League of Women Voters did this year of trying to change how districts are drawn here in Illinois. And I think Illinois is, again, a laughing stock of the nation when you look at our legislative districts and congressional districts of how they're drawn. And the idea that it comes down to pulling a name out of Abraham Lincoln's hat of who is the deciding vote of whether it's going to be the Democratic map or the Republican map. It doesn't serve us well. Both sides have used that to their advantage and to our disadvantage. And I wish we would have had some real change there. It didn't happen. The leadership down there, I think, just felt too threatened to really allow you to have fair maps drawn for your districts. And so, to me, this other stuff, I'm glad some things were done, but that would have been a huge issue, and we're going into redistricting, so it was very relevant that we could have acted on this year of changing how we draw our legislative maps. As you all know, the census has taken place, or is taking place right now. They'll take those numbers and move into redistricting talk this next year. So I'm disappointed that we didn't have some real work done. I'm proud of all the work that the League of Women Voters did to try and recognize how important that is. Unfortunately, the leadership down there refused to take real action in making some significant real changes in how we draw our legislative maps.
Both of you are off for the summer, and you won't get back until November, but we really know that a lot of what takes place in the summer, when they're out in the parades, when they're out going to events and they're talking to people, what they're doing is they're getting the pulse of what people believe, and they're getting some ideas of what things need to be changed. So for both of you, the question is, what is some specific legislation that you hope to bring forward when you get back into Springfield in November that will help to reduce the deficit?
First, I didn't know we were off for this summer. It doesn't feel like we're off, but it's great. It's wonderful. It's been a busy, busy, busy summer, and we're having a great time. Both Kay and I see Kay so much. I think I see her more when we're not in Springfield than I see in Springfield sometimes, just because there's so many wonderful things going on. We've got such an active community, which is great, that people are involved, that people are doing wonderful things, and we get to join in with that as well. So I wouldn't trade it for anything. But there are some important initiatives. My favorite pieces of legislation that I've sponsored down in Springfield have been ideas or issues that have been brought to me by my constituents. And so that's one of the things I love to do during the summer and fall, is be out meeting people, getting ideas from them. People who say, why don't we do this? And a lot of times they'll say, I don't know, that's a good idea. Let's look into it. Let's figure out if we can do that. And so I think, some significant legislation that we passed has come to me that way, through constituents that I've been talking to, getting ideas from them, just common sense ideas of how we can run this better, how we can do a better job as a state government. So one of the things I would really like to see happen, and this is a big task, but I think it's doable. It really ties back to the budget. There's so much talk of education and making sure that we really are providing good quality education for our kids, making sure that money is getting into our classrooms. I'd like to change the timeline for budgeting for education.